You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. I'm joined today with our executive producer, Joe Venosa. We're going to discuss some of the agendas and meetings coming up in the county that we think will interest you. So at Open Agenda, we are celebrating our 100th episode, and who knew 18 months ago this is where we would be.
Syndication, baby.
Dr. Joe Venosa, I want to ask you, you were one of the original members. We came down here for training. We had to learn how to do this, and we also had to learn how to project the story that we were seeing when we were attending the council meetings and listening to the county executive.
Yeah.
What's different now than 18 months ago that you would have never have imagined?
Well, I think absolutely we have figured out a method to our work that I think now is quite efficient. I think when we began, we were thrown into, as you said, the studio. We're learning all different things. Xavier here at PAC 14 and Tom and all the other staff were, guiding us like little kindergartners about, how to work the microphones and
not in what to say, but how to say what we wanted to say.
And how to say what we want to say, and so we've gone from that to, I think doing something that we not only have a consistency, but we have a flow and we have a great plan, and more importantly, we're able to do now in much more efficient ways what we set out to do, which is provide to the public in a very open and transparent way what's going on in Wicomico County and perhaps how things affect Wicomico County, even if they come from other places like the state or even the federal government. And I think we've provided that service in a way that is now much more, as I said, efficient and in real time. Within a few days of events, we can respond rather quickly. And I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to do, and I'm proud that we have also, I think, shown the importance of public access television, right? That any citizen who really wants to come and actually try to do something about what's going on in their community, whether it's from a political or religious angle, a civic angle, whatever, you can do that. So I'm very grateful for that.
Now, Jim, we always had seen you at the county council meetings. You always had great prepared statements about anything from budgeting to SWOT analysis.
He was the one-man open agenda at the meetings before it ever
He really was.
He really was.
Before it was a show. It was Jim. You started being a regular contributor to the show early in 2025. What has changed since you have come that maybe has surprised you?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that has surprised me is we used to have a topic to talk about. Now we have to decide what topic we're going to talk about because there are so many coming down the line and so much going on in this county that you realize that people just aren't aware of, and I think that besides our viewership growing and more people watching us and talking about us, that I think we've also created more viewership for PAC 14 for the county council meetings that we're letting people know what's going on, and they're starting to follow it up. And I think one of the biggest attributes that Open Agenda has, and we've talked about it numerous times, is that we may address our opinions occasionally. But usually when we address our opinions or state something, we have the documentation to follow up on it, that this is what was actually said, this is when it was said, and who said it. And you don't take my word for it. Go back and look at it yourself.
And to that point, and I want to say one thing, and then I want to turn it on the host, you've been incredibly effective and efficient, Joe, at taking the actual footage of what the elected officials say and do at meetings, and then simply show it again.
Yes.
Well,
and I think that really is commendable, not only that you're kind of going and you're doing the true historian's craft of the research of the documents, and you're really kind of an archivist of local issues, but you're getting the people, whether we agree or not with them, you're getting the people to make our point for us by just having them make their point.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the ultimate kind of transparency.
We invite people to come in here and talk about their things. I mean, we have council members that come in here and talk. We have city council members that come in and talk. Mm-hmm. We try to get people who are involved in things to come in here and explain it in their own words, not our words. Let them explain. And I think that's one of the biggest developments that have happened over the past year.
There's two folks who really had a lot of motivation behind how I've approached my part of this is the late Mr. Rick Say, who was a history teacher at Y High. Actually was never my history teacher, but was a tennis coach to my wife, was a family friend, passed away way too early. But he would just walk around and say, primary source. That's all. Like, I don't
like him already.
Yeah, primary source. So never believe what somebody else tells you, including me. The other one was a radio host in Baltimore on WBAL, Ron Smith. And Ron Smith, he was like the voice of reason. And, he was somewhat of a conservative, similar to myself. But he used to have Ben Cardin on all the time. And he would just get some people so fired up. But he would let Ben Cardin, a Democrat senator, or he was a congressman, and then he became a senator while he was appearing on the Ron Smith show. But Ron Smith always let him say what he wanted to say. And I'm always really proud. We bring a lot of folks in here that politically I don't necessarily agree with. But I get more out of listening to them and maybe commentating much later for a much smaller period of time by having to listen to them. And every once in a while, they change my mind on something.
Well, you said it earlier. You can learn and gain a lot from people that you might think you disagree with. And maybe you still will, but you still gain things out of it. I mean, I think, it's like, you have a background in agriculture, biodiversity. The diversity of opinion and thought also matters, and viewpoint diversity matters because it enriches it.
Yeah. I went to one of your lectures, and
I'm sorry.
it was great. You broke down Garveyism and W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yep.
And, history has kind of maybe lumped those guys together in a way. But they could not have been more different in their real time.
Their real time, yeah.
And you broke down the differences there. Now, 100 years ago, it was just interesting to go back and you put us in that moment. And I'm hoping that show is what this is, and on a much smaller scale, but important to all of us. So,
Very well.
Welcome back. We're here with Josh Hastings, County Council member. Wicomico County. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
So at the last meeting, which was on June 20th, one of the most interesting things was the advancement of the land preservation in Wicomico County. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that came about?
Yeah. So first of all, it's my day job. I think most people probably think those council members that's our full-time job. No, it's a small amount of our time, smallish. So the world that I work in is land preservation. That means trying to make sure we're protecting critical farmland, critical habitat, hunting grounds, parks, and open space.
Is truly amazing. I didn't think we'd get here. I hoped we'd get here. We had obstacles all along the way, from last-minute amendments at the bill hearing but we got it despite the last-minute amendments and changes. We got it through, and now it's on to the next step. Now that we cracked the door open, we just might as well walk on through.
And you decided not to walk directly to your truck because you just felt a little bit weirded out.
Yeah,
they were so insistent on knowing your name.
Absolutely.
So they're already talking about me. I've only gone to one meeting to express my concerns about the constitutionality of something that was said by the county executive. I come to find out she doesn't even show up to the meetings because it's too bad for her emotional health to have people talking bad about her.
I mean, the county executive said at the work session that this is a cost-neutral proposition. I mean, she said it twice.
A lot of misinformation that is out there is the cost that the county will bear. So the way that we have worked this out with the sheriff's office and with corrections, it's basically budget neutral. It is not costing the taxpayers anything. It is budget neutral.
Do you feel like that's possible?
I can say all sorts of things, doesn't make them true.
Sure.
Obviously, the real challenge is that it's going to require the use of county employees and our assets, and in doing so, if there's time off for trainings or things like that, it's going to cost the county?
As it stands right now, with the sheriff and his deputies being removed out of this equation at this point in time per this guidance, what we are looking at and what we are concerned about even more is that I've kind of caught wind that the General Assembly might end up taking out the fact that correctional officers may do this and changing state law. So what I would like to do in this is potentially table this until we get through session. And if we get through, if we get through session and there have been no changes and correctional officers have the ability to do it, I would revisit that with the director of corrections at that point in time.
I'm interested to hear, what Dr. Venosa has to say. I noticed that night we had a sheriff that was frustrated at the table, a county executive that was very subdued, and an attorney that was very sheepish.
Bob, you have a unique level of experience because at one time you were the the attorney for the county council, and you're a glutton for punishment. You attend most city council meetings and county council meetings. What has been the biggest surprise to you about your participation on the show?
Well, let me back up just a second. I think we have to give a lot of credit to PAC 14. I've been living in small towns most of my life, and I've never seen less mainstream media than we have here.
Right now.
PAC 14 is helping that. Now, of course, they don't do investigative reporting, and that's kind of why we have Open Agenda, I think, because we can do it.
You were one of the original members that came in to get the training to learn how to shoot a public access show like Open Agenda. Obviously, your involvement started with Safari at the Quarry, but over the course of the last 18 months, you've become involved in many other aspects of city and county government. What has surprised you about your role with the show?
Gee, that's a good question. I know my role has grown, and when I initially started, I was strictly behind the camera, and started doing some of the research, and then finally one day after I got my foot out of my mouth, you actually put me in front of the camera, and I've really enjoyed every aspect of doing this. I just feel that what we're doing at Open Agenda is so important. There is such an informational void of news in Wicomico County, and we are filling that vacuum that has been left by the mainstream media. Open Agenda has done for me, it's given me an outlet to help inform others and to encourage everybody in Wicomico County who watches us to start paying attention, because I found out the hard way how local government really could have messed up my life and the quiet enjoyment of my home.
So, Joe Scafino, I want to ask you, your involvement with the show has started in 2025. You're a paralegal, correct?
Among other things.
Yes. You're a former council member, correct, from Pennsylvania?
Yes.
And you have served on committees locally since you've moved here, correct?
Yes.
And so your involvement with the show, a lot of times you come in and give us some legal background, but also maybe some contrarian background to something that happened with the city government or the county government, correct?
Yes. If I don't have the answer, I know the right questions to ask to get the answer. So, yeah.
So how's your involvement in the show changed how you look at what we're doing in county government, city government in this area?
Well, it's been very informative. I wasn't, my first 4 years, I really didn't pay much attention. And then I started watching you guys, and then I started attending meetings, and I've come to learn that we've got a pretty dysfunctional county and city government.
Yeah.
So I intend to help change that over the next 2 elections.
So we were all at the county council meeting on Tuesday night. We were there to really get more information about the MOA with ICE. But one of the other subjects that came up from the meeting 3 weeks ago, the second meeting in September, was the Bible passages, and there were 5 of them that Councilman James Wynn read.
I brought something important here today, that we've got some people in this audience and in this council that are trying to figure out what is going on in the world. Why is this happening? Why the craziness, right? I hear it up here, and I'm telling you, it's because people are falling away from the Word, from Christ. And it's actually, everything's right here, the answers. This is truth. You've got the beginning, you've got the present, and you've got the ending written right here. And I just want everybody to really think about this. I know not everyone here is a Christian, and that's okay. I'll pray for you. And, there's only one way. There's only one way. And that's through Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Hello, everybody. My name is Colin McEvers. I'm a student at Salisbury University. There's been some controversy lately around a county councilman for reading scripture a couple weeks ago. I don't really think there's any problem with this either. I've heard that there are groups that are going to be coming after him for reading a little, the Bible during a meeting. I mean, we had a case with the Supreme Court, Greece versus Town of Greece versus Galloway many years ago, which essentially, decided that prayer and religious activities being done by a county councilman or an elected official does not violate the First Amendment.
He characterized it as saying any kind of prayer by the council was okay. And that's not the case at all. It doesn't even involve prayer being led by the council.
Okay.
That particular case involved chaplains coming in, or clergymen coming in, being invited by a town board to make invocations.
In the studio with us now, Mr. Bob Taylor. Thank you for sticking around. And we also have Miss Lynette Kenny from Hebron. And I appreciate you coming in today. You're part of a group out that way, and I want to ask you, what is the name of that group, and what are you working towards or working against?
We're an ad hoc group, and we're called the Neighborhood Action Group, and we call ourselves NAG for short.
Okay.
And we just wanted to have a name to kind of symbolize what we're doing in the neighborhood. So.
And what are you doing?
We formed back in 2019 when we found out about the DAF tank coming to our neighborhood. And we formed to go out and did petition and tried to see what we could do to get it stopped.
Both of you have been great contributors to the show. And Trish, I want to start with you. We met you going to county council meetings. Obviously, I think you speak very firmly and articulately about any of the subjects you've brought up, but you have brought here a different perspective of someone coming from Fruitland who's not engaged directly with the city of Salisbury, but obviously impacted Salisbury. What has drawn you to want to participate with the show, with your civic engagement you've already had?
Pretty random. I wandered into a county council meeting because a friend invited me to go, and this was a year ago, past summer, and I thought it'd be interesting. I really had no idea what type of topics were covered, but Mr. Mike Goldberg happened to deliver public comment that day, and it was the first I had heard of this developing situation with Safari at the quarry, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I started attending more of the council meetings and learning more.
Michael, most of your involvement revolves around the city government.
Mm-hmm.
You have brought great perspective about county topics by someone who really is deeply involved with the city side of things. What has drawn you to want to participate with the show?
Honestly, like wanting to have a sincere discussion about the issues, to start with facts, and then everybody has opinions, right? Sure. But it's like, everyone wants to be seen and heard and given space. On this show, I really feel like people do that. I don't think that it's about consensus. We're not a democratic body in that aspect where everybody has to come to the same perspective, and that's extremely valuable to me as the kind of person that I am, who's very driven sometimes, especially like how passionate I can get about an opinion. It's good for me to have other people with other interests, other perspectives around me who are willing to push. That helps me grow as a person.
Do both of you find that not living in an echo chamber of any political party, political dogma, or even just one perspective has enhanced your ability to understand some of the issues that are maybe not even the main reason why you showed up in the first place?
100%. I gain so much from listening to all sides of an argument or a position. It benefits me personally. And it's very dangerous to get stuck in an echo chamber or in a bubble or in a news bubble.
It's kind of this emotional loop when you get in that echo chamber for people. And it's like, I always tell people, you can be right and you can be alone. I mean, what does that do for you? I mean, really, at the end of the day, what does that produce? And I really am a person who, years ago, I started working on collaboration politically and artistically. And it's the people who can communicate. It's the people willing to hear you out, and you just start reciprocating with people.
Get everybody all upset about breaking the revenue cap. And then when she came in to present her budget, she enjoyed sitting there watching the look on the council's face when she said she had a balanced budget and had fully funded the Board of Ed, plus given the Board of Ed more money. Her words exactly.
I think
bait and switch.
You look up transparency in the dictionary. Bait and switch is not part of it, right?
Is not the definition of transparency.
What I don't understand is you were so kind to the state's attorney as she sat here and told you, we're hiring these people, we need to do this. I'm asking for the same kindness.
You keep saying we're not kind to you.
You're not kind to me. You're not kind to me.
Starting January 1st, the total revenue from Verizon is $1.7 million.
That's what they're going to pay us.
They're going to pay you, yes. Out of that, I project about $300,000 of expenses. $1.4 million would be the net revenue to the county against, so you're going to go in with about a $2.2 million purchase price on a...
They asked to purchase this building for a little over $3.6 million. The selling point is this rental income that we were supposed to receive from Verizon for the next 18 months as a county, about 1.4 million, well, 1.7 million minus about 300,000 in operating costs, down to about 1.4. We're finding out now that they need in the budget they requested $2.75 million in renovations, and the money from the lease just went into the general fund and has been spent. And we want to take this show to update everyone on the social media aspect. We covered that with you a couple weeks ago. And we had some other folks who were there who were going to report on exactly what was said. But, we really watched the exchange amongst the council and talking about the social media post by the teacher and the county executive's reaction to that. Because our county executive has definitely used social media as a weapon, whether you agree with her or not on the nature of that teacher's post. And look, at the very least, it's in really poor taste. So, Dr. Venosa, I want to ask you, what actually transpired from the comment that the teacher made and the reaction from the county executive?
Sure. So my understanding is the day of the assassination, a local teacher posted on Facebook a meme that basically mocked this public figure's assassination.
Attributing it to Donald Trump and his cover-up of
the Epstein files. Yeah. It was kind of basically saying, okay, you have to take one for the team because I'm getting bad media coverage over the Epstein connection. So I think we all would agree it was pretty bad taste and certainly not well timed. But here's the thing. The county executive, as the head of the Wicomico County government, publicly stated that this teacher should be forced to resign. I guess that would be fired then. I don't know, because if you force somebody to resign,
it is fired. At least in baseball.
At least in baseball, yeah. So she wants this teacher fired, and also stated though that in part because he was inciting violence. It is beyond reckless. It's embarrassing. It's a disaster as far as I'm concerned.
In this week's episode, we've spent some time with a local farmer and some residents of the Canterbury area neighborhoods to talk about the biodiesel refinery that's going to come before the Board of Appeals at the end of March. In the studio with me is Joe Diggs and Rhonda Temko Ladies, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, indeed.
So I want to ask each of you, when did you become aware that this refinery was on near your properties?
Well, it was around June I started noticing some building.
Well, let's discuss the specifics of that. So this building that he's erected is 193 feet from the property line of his neighbors. His neighbor's wellhead is 25 feet from that line.
Oh, wow.
So the building and the industry, the plant, which he calls it a plant, is less than 225 feet from a neighbor's wellhead. One of the things that I think has come out of this for me is it's really important for us to understand local and county civics, to be involved in the process, to understand who's responsible for what decisions, how did we get to this place. And I'm hopeful that because we're able to get on platforms like this and have a voice, that this will be bigger than Canterbury, Log Cabin Road, Hickory Mill, because it's if he is granted the ability to complete and run this plant, his plans are to put 5 more in this immediate area.
Oh, so come into a neighborhood near you.
Yeah.
You all covered extensively last week the same main topic that was just at the county council meeting this past Tuesday, February 4th, which is the NAACP and the ACLU's lawsuit against the county and the Board of Ed. Talk a little bit about, just exactly how the meeting went, and there was a public comment section too, right?
Yeah, sure. So the meeting featured a pretty extensive presentation by Mr. Kevin Karpinski, the attorney for the county, and he went over not only the essence of the case and the history behind it, but the specific nature of why the 1965 Voting Rights Act was violated according to this particular situation.
Plaintiffs also alleged a claim under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 that the current 5-2 composition also violated the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution.
That I want to talk about the city council meeting on
Sure.
Monday the 13th. Right?
Yeah, because we're getting snowed regardless.
Yes, it does feel like it, doesn't it? So look, this is going to be the second reading of the text amendment to change the zoning density in the downtown business district from 40 units per acre to 80. This is not a new subject. This started about 2 years ago with an appeal to get an exception. The exception was thrown out even by a judge. But the public voice really does not seem to be resonating with the elected leaders. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say the public voice is not only being not registering, but it's being suppressed in many ways.
Well, how do you say?
Well, one of the things that's most concerning, apart from the fact that there are various elected officials that have what many people would feel are conflicts of interests regarding some of these particular pieces of legislation or amendments, is the fact that even the very basic ability of citizens to participate in their local city government has been increasingly marginalized.
Well, let's talk about these conflicts, because in the studio with us now is Councilwoman April Jackson from the 1st District in Salisbury. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Michael Langford, thanks for sticking around. Appreciate still having you here.
Thank you for having me.
So we want to talk about affordable housing and the transparency of the city council business.
Welcome everybody. My name's Steve Miller. I'm the Director of Rec and Parks and Tourism for Wycomico County. Thanks for coming out today. We are joined by Secretary Kirch from DNR, so we appreciate you taking the time to be in Wycomico County. While the Secretary was in town, the conversations of partnership parks has come up, and so what we're doing today is just making 3 stops. These are just real quick. I wouldn't even call them tours. They're just site visits at 3 locations.
This show is going to be about what's in the briefing book for tomorrow night's county council meeting at 6 o'clock. We felt compelled to do this because there's over 170 pages, a lot of information, and there's contradictory information from the county executive in this. Mike, I want to go through the timeline that Jim has prepared and the notes that you have prepared. I want to give everybody just the facts, and then I want to take a break and come back and do some analysis of those facts, because it's nearly impossible to comment on it while you're trying to go through the timeline. But there's a lot of things that have been, I would say, restated that weren't facts in July. They're now all of a sudden are supposed to be fact in October.
Public monies are for the public's interest, not for private development. And you can conflate private interest with a outcome that can theoretically, benefit the public, but that's not actually using what those public monies are for.
In the studio with us now is Dr. Micah Stauffer from Wycomico County Public Schools. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Joe, thanks for sticking around.
Thank you.
So I wanted to get a feel for your role, and there's a lot of folks who know who you are, or at least they think they know what you do, but I want to ask you, what exactly is your role with the Wycomico County Public Schools?
Absolutely. So the Wycomico County Board of Education has 2 employees. One's a clerical assistant, and the other is myself.
Okay.
In my role as superintendent of schools, I'm responsible for the 2,500 employees that we have. We're the 3rd largest employer in Wycomico County.
Okay.
We also have 30 schools and programs.
In the studio with us now is Dr. Jason Arrington from Wycomico County.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming out.
Thanks.
Mr. Jim Atkins from Mardella. Good morning. So you're newly appointed onto the dispensary board, right?
Correct.
In Wycomico County.
Yes, just starting this past July kind of thing.
What does that board do, and how does it differ from the Board of License Commissioners? In the studio with me today is Councilman Joe Holloway from the 5th District, Wycomico County.
How you doing today?
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, hello.
Mr. Mike Goldberg, thanks for coming out from Delmar.
Good day.
So we had the county executive's legislative breakfast last Friday, which was... Welcome back to Open Agenda. In the studio with us now is the president and CEO of Wycomico County Habitat for Humanity, Molly Hillegas.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming
Hi,
out.
everybody.
Mike Lankford, thanks for joining us today as well.
Thanks for having me.
We've seen you out in public a lot, and we've heard some of the programs that are involved with Habitat in the news lately, but I really wanted to find out from the source exactly some of the programs, how they work, and some of the challenges you see coming up ahead. Welcome back to Open Agenda. In the studio with me now is Ms. Monica Brooks, president of the NAACP of Wycomico County. Good morning. Thanks for coming out. Thank you. I know that there's more to what you do, and talking to you actually got started back in 2014 as a co-founder of another organization. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So back in 2000, might have been 13 actually, 13 or 14, we discovered that someone had a great idea to put 13 mega-sized poultry houses on top of the Paleo Channel, which is our source of water. If you're in Salisbury and the areas around.
In the studio with us now is Ms. Shani Shields, Councilwoman from District 1, Wycomico County. Thank you for coming out.
I'm glad to be here. Run my mouth.
One, I want to discuss the liquor bills, the zombie liquor bills that are never undead. They've come back to life once again. And you were very articulate at the last meeting. You just flat out said, I'm just not going to support them. And I wanted to ask you, why do you feel so strongly about that?
I feel strongly about it because I think we have other issues, number one,
Okay.
to talk about besides liquor.
Okay. In the studio with us now is Mikkel Darlene from Delmar. Thank you. So, Mikkel, I want to ask you, I've seen you at many county council meetings. What got you involved and why did you get started going?
So my husband and my family, we moved to Wycomico County, and when we were buying our house, we had heard about Conley Mill Park. Okay. We had kind of researched it. We knew this was coming, and we wanted to be close to it, be a part of it. When last year's events of Safari at the Quarry came up, and we found out that the park had been removed from the Capital Improvement Program and the Tri-County Council Economic Development Strategy, we decided we wanted to help form an advocacy group to protect the original vision for Conley Mill Park.
Salisbury City Council had their meeting Monday, September 9th.
They did.
And we're going to bring in Kevin Lindsay later.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about closed primaries and open primaries and maybe baseball too.
Yeah.
But before we get there, there was some other business at city council meeting?
Well, speaking of closed primaries and closed things, let's talk about closed sessions, because what happened yesterday was very interesting. So typically the council goes into closed session, if they have to, before the legislative session, and then maybe they go to a work session. Usually they're ready by 6.
Okay.
Actually, sometimes they're ready about 10, 15 minutes prior. The doors open, the community can come in. Well, they didn't open those doors until about 6:35.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people talked literally when the doors opened and afterward about what occurred. And by several accounts, there was a lot of tensions, a lot of back and forth about some of the big debates that they're having right now.
Well, I thought it was odd, too. There was only 3 council members there,
Yes.
right?
So I can't explain Council Member Gregory's absence. That's not a new thing.
She wasn't at the last one either.
Yeah, she's not around much, it seems. But what I was told by several people was that Council Member Dowdy left.
Okay.
Walked out.
He was there during the
closed session at some point. Allegedly, got upset, left.
Okay.
And then Vice President Angela Blake had to chair the rest of the meeting, which is interesting because with only 3 sitting members, although they had a quorum, they actually couldn't vote on the second reading for several resolutions.
When an elected official knowingly and intentionally violates the rule of law meant for us all, it is something deeply unethical and ought to bar them from the ability to serve public office in the future. Mr. Deshaun Dowdy has misrepresented himself to such an extent that he has lied to the City Election Board, the City of Salisbury Incorporated Municipality, his fellow council members, his constituents of District 2, and every resident of the City of Salisbury, over 30,000 people who actually live here.
In the studio with me is Mr. Kevin Lindsay from Salisbury.
How you doing?
This idea that there's gonna be a closed primary for the next city elections, which are in 2027. You've posted some information, and I want to find out a little bit more about just what you're hearing.
So, I have a contact that stated that the city council, which they ultimately have control over, wants to change the charter to a primary.
So if you're going to create a closed primary system, as I said, you're not just going to get the more extreme candidates or maybe the candidates that are backed by the party people with the money, but you're just going to get fewer people to participate in the process.
So, Bob, you're here today to talk about some of the lawsuits regarding the marina landing development project on the west side of the Wicomico River downtown. And also, there's also a lawsuit pending for Lot 10, and there's a lot to break down there. Yeah, I want to find out more just about how that's going to break down and what the time frames, what people can expect.
The reason why that was leaked to the media was because, this is my own personal belief, I believe that they're using that as a threat to get what they want. But both the company that is suing for the marina landing property and Mentis Capital both have some financial problems. Mentis Capital has a lien due to unpaid furniture in the Ross building.
Okay.
And then, of course, the issue with the company in Marina Landing. I believe they're a Baltimore-based company.
They need more of those big checks from Mayor Jig Day.
For all the discussion, all this other stuff, in the end, regular people are going to have to pay 6% more for their water and sewer. And a lot of that is basically because, and you can watch City Council meeting where they say this, it's to pay the debt service. A lot of that debt we accrued. Why? Because we subsidized a lot of high-end projects that have yet to come to fruition.
In the studio with us is Councilman Dave Ennis. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
You're the newest member of the county council, but in some ways you're also the oldest member of the county council, right?
I never thought about it in that way, but yes, 25 years ago, I was also by appointment served for 2 years, 2000, 2001, and so 25 years ago. And I'll have to say there's a lot of contrast between when I was on the first time and what I'm seeing right now.
We'll talk about the county fair. Great weekend for it, right?
It was fantastic. To me, this is one of the best things that Wicomico County has to offer.
We are looking forward in September that there's going to be a meeting down at Westside Community Center to talk about what Tipton. But in the meantime, Delegate Chris Adams and Tom Hutchinson came out, and you covered that. Mm-hmm. So, and Jim Atkins was down there as well. I think the message should be that if you're getting your information from any blog site, not one particular one, but any, buyer beware. Mm-hmm. And if the only way you're making a decision about which way you feel about the Board of Education funding, in this instance, is you need to go get your own information. Go to primary source.
Right now, those dynamics in Annapolis are led by the budget issues. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what actual legislative priorities the county fully gets behind first, and then can our delegation deliver any of those based on what we're facing.
In the studio with me now is Randy Taylor, Mayor of Salisbury.
Figure out how to incentivize, again, housing going forward without compromising our tax base or our revenue. Right now, for an example, just to give people within the city that are on the payroll a 2% raise is a $750,000 conversation.
Wow.
And that requires $75 million in new assessments to go onto the books to collect our rate in order to just break even. And that doesn't really cover much else.
We want to talk a little bit about the Planning and Zoning meeting that happened last week. The results of that. The City Council had a meeting this week. Unfortunately, there wasn't any votes taken based off of the recommendations that came from Planning and Zoning. We want to lay some of the groundwork. We want to explain some of the details. And it's a couple layers, and I think if we take our time, I think we can get through that, maybe help bring anybody who's kind of new to this topic up to speed.
Essentially, if you watch it, it seems that the votes and the discussion and the meeting format were predetermined in the sense that it was very scripted. There were no real opportunities to really debate and analyze the issue. And I think a lot of us in the community, and again, for clarity, we all have our bias and view. I think most of us are not against density. The issue is how it's being done in this way. The fact that there seems to be a lot of ethical concerns and conflicts of interest at play with certain members of the Planning and Zoning Board, with local developers.
In this episode, we're actually going to take a look back at the property tax credit that's been offered to the volunteer fire departments in Wicomico County. With me in studio is Mr. Jim Atkins from Ardella.
Volunteer firefighters have a program which the state gives them called LoSAP, which allows them to get a state tax credit, income tax credit at the end of the year if they do a certain amount of participation. For many years, some of the chiefs in the county have propositioned the county and tried to get a property tax credit for the firefighters, the volunteers, as a recruitment and retention program.
We do know that trying to get all the information sometimes from every single department and the exact number is very, very difficult. So pretty much the crux of what Mr. Benson helped us put together, figure out what that total number might be. I think it was about 750,000 we thought might be the total impact. Sort of fashioned a bill in reference to that on a prorated basis. So that would be the maximum, and there's a certain particular amount that would be benefited in relief of property taxes first year, second year, and third year for each volunteer.
Comes from a disagreement over a campaign donation that was, in the campaign finance forms, it says the Eastern Shore Undercover itself has donated $3,500 to the Friends to Julie Giordano campaign. Now, that's public record.
Correct.
It's been denied by her office and by the proprietor of Eastern Shore Undercover.
Several times.
Several times on the radio. Michael Goldberg has done his own research. He's the one who has pulled the campaign finance forms. I've seen them. He's shown them to me. It shows the $3,500 donation. And
even the sheriff showed it.
What the video recorded by PAC 14 actually shows is Mr. Goldberg exiting the council chambers, walking past Miss Langford, and gently placing a piece of paper on top of documents that were in her lap, and walking out of the council chambers. He did not throw the document at her. It did not strike her in the chest. It was not assaultive behavior intended to be threatening or to cause harm. It's clear in the video that all he was doing was passing a document to a county official who was there supposedly doing county business. This peace order was brought against him by a county employee, which had a chilling effect on his ability to speak freely on a political topic. It's very important for that free speech to be preserved.
Well, thanks for watching this episode of Open Agenda. We'll be back next week with another new episode.
Love the chicken.
And I'm pretty sure I have some influential people backing me. But if for some reason this passes in November, I'll go back to teaching in 26, but I will run for county council along with a slate, and I will win because no one works harder than I do.
Look, these shows are going to start getting longer. They're just
We need
giving
a
us
laugh track, man.
a laugh track, and maybe an episode a day at this rate.
And there's just so much to work with these days with all the shenanigans.